welcome each and every individual to Lesson 5, Dimensional Thinking, helping people think differently quickly. Fasten your seatbelt on for today's lesson because I'm telling you, it is going to go fast and furious. It's interesting, when I was out in Annapolis at a mastermind seminar event, I'd encourage you all to participate in those. You get to see people live in person and connect. And my grandson, Daniel, he's 7, he came up to me, and I was doing some prep for the event, and he said, "Grandpa, what's your biggest challenge?" I said, "Daniel, what I'd like to do is my biggest challenge is getting people to be better students and doing it faster, how they can learn more and doing it faster." And so in dimensional thinking, helping people think different quickly, we're going to teach you how to do that in 7 minutes. So it's accumulation. Hopefully you've internalized lesson 1, 2, 3, and 4, because here comes lesson 5. I hope we're all ready for it. And so in dimensional thinking, helping people think different quickly, we as teenagers and adults, we think we're pretty smart. And so we think we're pretty smart. And so let's start out with a pretty easy question to test how smart we really are. All right, so Paul and Tom and Nicole, are you all ready?
Ready.
All right, here we go. What's larger, the Earth or the Sun?
The Sun. The Earth.
Excuse me?
I just said the Earth.
Why?
What's larger is larger compared to what?
Okay, so if you said the Sun, sorry, you're wrong. If you said it depends on your perspective, wow, great work. Let's ask another question. What's more money, 3 cents or $100,000?
3 cents. 100,000.
Nice. You guys are awesome. A man from over 2,000 years ago said 3 cents was. All right. What's a higher number, a 2 or a 9?
Depends on the dimension.
If you said it's a 9, well, you're in good company, so you must be right? I mean, if we all agree, if a group of us agree that 9 is big, so if a group agrees to something, they must be right, because it's a group. Actually, in not being so smart, we're often right. Like, what? What does this mean? But not in the way we think we are. And so, if you said it depends on your perspective, well, you're learning. Excellent work. See, in the next dimension principle, which is part of the DNA for Life, the natural laws, when we ask what's a higher number, a 2 or 9, we tend to think in our own dimension, and so we say, well, it's a 9. But if there's 10 levels in a dimension, then it's different. See, no formal education, no book, not even Google knows the next dimension principle, but you're going to learn it today. Like, this is where this course is like, it gets to be fun. So what's a higher number, a 2 or a 9? Well, see, when we get to a 10, this is where the analytic, the DNA for people, the analytic will never give themselves 10s. So this explains a lot about CPAs, and it explains a lot about, technical people. So they never give themselves a 10 because they think 10 is perfection. 10 is not perfection. 10 is masteries. And so once we master it, once we hit a 10 in anything, we move to a next dimension. And so actually, when we look at the next dimension principle, 2 in the next dimension is actually higher than a 9 in the previous dimension. So it's like, holy smokes. So, in 7 minutes, as promised, we've taught you how to think differently. The key is humility. The key is humility, to understand my way of thinking, is not the right way of thinking. It is a way of thinking. In raising 7 children, my youngest one was 15 before I learned this. Don't say that you're wrong. Say, that's an interesting way of thinking. Here's another way of thinking, son. And you know what? Your way of thinking might not get you what you want in life. Like that, I'm like, how come nobody taught me that? Like, how come I didn't know it? Why didn't I? But no worries, I'm making up for it with my grandkids. So now I don't go ahead and say you're wrong in how you're thinking. I just say, that's an interesting way to think about it. Here's another way that Grandpa thinks about it. And I think your way of thinking might not get you what you want in life. So when we look at it, we've done the power of boss, the 17 seconds to quantum thinking, the one system for everything, the natural laws to leverage everything, dimensional thinking. We're done. We got it. That's it. Like 7 minutes. Well, kind of. It's easy for us to understand intellectually something, but then we have to internalize it, which creates an awakening. We need to listen, which connects into our why, our life vision. We need to see things that provide insights. We need to understand purification of our intentions, not always as caring as we think we are, not always as selfless as we think we are. That leads to radically thinking differently, which gives us new capability, which gives us leverage, which then leads to change, which then leads into internalization, which leads to doing, and then failure. And then we learn, oh my gracious, I'm a human being. My grandson, my 7-year-old grandson, was putting the finishing touches on this with me today, and he inspires me. I've got 4 of my grandkids staying at our place for the next 2-3 weeks, and man, I'm telling you, I'm like, Grandpa's trying to figure out what is this? How it's the human what? It's the human experience. Like, this is what keeps us young, is to realize we're not so smart. I mean, just really, really cool stuff, and that creates an awakening, which then leads, like he was going through, he says, ownership, Grandpa. He said, that's good. I'm like, you're right, buddy. That is good. And then work, and then caring for other people. Hopefully, you have connected all of this to awakening, ownership, work, and care. And hopefully you've seen by now that we're not going to give you any assignments that are not really important for you to do. So you need to connect with your art mentor on every lesson as you go through. You need to connect with your 2 art buddies. You're going to learn more from them than you will your art mentor. And then turning learning into earning. You need to sign up for one of those levels. So you got to do that, because if you don't do that, you're going to say, I understand this. No, you don't understand it. You understand it at some level, but there's an infinite number of levels, and as we move into the more detailed part of the lesson, I think it's going to be mind-numbing. As Paul would say, it's goosebump moments like galore. It's like a grand finale at the fireworks or something like that. Each lesson gets better and better. Hopefully you're experiencing the same thing I am. So here we go into the more advanced lesson.